I just like stuff. I like all the stuff we make and the stuff we build. And I choose, oh, it's not really a choice anymore. It just kind of happens. But I've learned to choose to just like stuff.
90分後、俺がこの歓声を悲鳴に変えてやる。
One of the interesting things to me about doing interviews is, this is my first time meeting you, but I do research and I watch your videos and I've seen
Right.
other interviews and I watch podcasts and everything. So with that, I end up making a lot of assumptions about people. And me being an, the art junkie that I am, I think about things through art. So what I tried to do was I tried to put myself in your shoes and think through, what are Austin's favorite movies, bands, books, that kind of thing. So I made some guesses and just let me know how close I am. And if you've never heard of
Incredible.
them, that's okay. And
Let
they'll
me
be
think for 2 seconds to see. So I'm just trying to think if I even have answers to some of these. I think I do. Movies, bands, music. Yeah. Okay. All right. Go ahead.
So for movies, and it was a tie. I couldn't pick. It was between Who Framed Roger Rabbit and the Akira Kurosawa movie Ikaru.
Okay. I don't know anything about Ikaru, so I should Google that.
Tell you what,
Um,
it's about this like Japanese man who finds out that he's about to pass away, and then like spends the last
mm,
months of his life basically just trying to build a
on a swing.
playground.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
swinging. That's what it looks like. Okay.
and tell you what, you haven't seen it yet. That's perfectly fine. If you get a chance to watch it, like genuinely, please let me know what you think of it because I it feels so Austin coded to me, and it fills me with so much joy. So I would absolutely love to hear what you think about it. But Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Was that a big movie for you at all?
No, I mean, I think I give off the impression of being extremely like I would have seen a Kurosawa. I mean, I've heard of Kurosawa, obviously, but I'm pretty pop culture pilled in a way. Like my favorite movie, well, there's really two. My favorite like movie, like go to the movies type movie, is Titanic. I'm an absolute. I love that movie. I think it's perfect on so many levels. And then my favorite like filmy film is this movie called The Florida Project that came out like it's like 8 or 9 years ago or something. Um, I like movies. Every time I see them, I love them, but I'm not somebody who's like voraciously consuming very much media that's not video games. And
Hmm.
even in video games, I'm always going for depth of relationship over quantity. So I wouldn't consider myself someone who like has a good understanding of media broadly. I think I have a pretty good understanding of like video game and the art of games and the history of games and stuff. Beyond that, yes, like the list of movies that I've been told are like perfect for me, or shows that are perfect for me. And I'm not going to give anything away because I'm sure you're going to make more guesses. But and I've just never seen them, and just never. I probably never will. And maybe I will. I probably but it's just like I need a for me watching movies and listening to new albums and stuff is kind of it's like a an alignment of planets. Like it's like a thing
Hmm.
that just sort of comes into place and it happens and it goes away. It's not something I choose to do. That's a little bit of a cop out because obviously we have free will.
I know what you mean
We
though.
ostensibly
Yeah.
have free will, but it is just like a thing that happens. And then I see them and I'm like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. And then the next movie I see, I feel the same way. And so I just am constantly having just watched my favorite movie of all time, except Train Dreams. I just watched Train Dreams, which
Ooh,
was
I don't know it.
nominated for the best picture. It was just whatever. Didn't like it at all. Thought it was honestly pretty boring. Could have been a lot better. It is what it is. But yeah, that's the
Well,
closest I've come to like sitting and watching a film recently.
we'll tell you what. Let's see if I get any closer on artists. Again, this was a tie. The book was the only one I didn't have a tie. I'm very confident on that answer, and that'll
I've
come later.
only read 3 books, so it's a short list.
On musical artists, it was a tie for me between Machine Girl and Pete Seeger.
Okay, I respect both of those choices, but I've never really listened to either of them. Again, same with music. It's like I grew up as a little kid and I listened to the Backstreet Boys, Britney Spears, top 40, top 45 music.
Hmm.
Um, and then middle school transitioned into my Linkin Park, Godsmack, Tool. And then you kind of get your like Chili Peppers, Nirvana, sort of like your big iconography. And so most of my musical upbringing was through that type of music, sort of like what you would, if I would even I call it lowbrow as like a defense mechanism because it
Hmm.
is like lowbrow, right? But if I go to someone and I say like over the course of my life, Linkin Park is one of my favorite bands, you're like, Okay. Like we all understand where in the musical pantheon a band like that sits, but for me, um, the I'm not somebody who considers the piece of art itself as the primary driver of the value of the art. And I don't get the sense that you are either. Well, it depends. Maybe we can argue about it. For me, the value of a piece of art is it's a dance that me and the piece of art does at a specific place, at a specific time, in a specific mood. And so it's not exactly just purely subjective, but it's also I don't know if I think of it as objective either. It's like this thing that exists right between me and a thing. And so it's like subjective enough that I lost my train of thought. What am I getting at? I was talking about Lincoln Park, blah 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 blah.
Well,
Um,
it's so it sounds like because I think I relate. It's one of those things. It's so tricky to verbalize these things, and but it sounds like what you're saying is you relate a lot to not just the piece of art, but also where you are in time when you find it, and all of these different things that are not just
yeah,
in the piece itself.
and that's the only thing that really matters. So like the way I realized this was my favorite musical artists, if I were to write them down, there's kind of like that group that's like your Linkin Parks or whatever. But if I think of like goated, like means the world to me, aside from that, I think Prince is just insane. I love Prince so much. Um, and one of the ways I realized that the way I relate to music is like total bullshit and made up and not like I could no longer stand on two legs in a music conversation is because I started realizing that really all my favorite artists outside of those initial formative, when you're 8 years old type experiences were all artists that at one point I looked at another human being and I said, that sucks. How do you like that? I don't like that at all. I'm never going to
Mm.
like that. What's going on? This is like objectively bad. Like I remember having that conversation with a bandmate of mine in like right after high school. And I said, like, I don't see this music sounds bad. And I was talking about Prince, who then, 6, 7 years later became in my like the greatest thing I'd ever heard. And I've had that experience so many times that I started realizing that time and place means more to me. Like my state of mind means everything to my ability to receive a piece of art with like an open heart, right? And that's a skill to some extent. And maybe like that's what a good connoisseur or critic is good at is basically always settling into that open hearted space. Um, but for me, art is in service of life, first and foremost. It's not in service of itself. And so I'm always I'll always say like all music is good if I hear it in the right place at the right time. Um, and that goes from the highest brow to the lowest brow. And that's probably broadly true of like games, movies, etc. I'm sure there are some sort of like boundaries on that. Um, but I've seen some pretty bad movies that I liked a lot and some pretty great movies that I really didn't like. And I chalk that up mostly to it just that wasn't the right place. It wasn't the right time um, for me. So
Well,
yeah, anyway, the point is Prince, Lincoln Park, probably some others. I'm finally going through a Pearl Jam phase, which I
hmm.
knew was coming for about 15 years. I could feel it. That I knew I was eventually going to hit because I'd hear Pearl Jam and I would go, "This sucks. This is horrible." And as soon as I started hearing myself say it, I was like, "It's coming. It's coming. We're having a Pearl Jam phase." So I think that's finally starting.
Well,
You know,
I think I relate to that. Is that the idea of like wanting to understand why you think it sucks, and then like in so doing, you actually end up loving it? Is that kind of how that goes?
no, not at all. It's literally just, well, there's two ways that it can happen. Sometimes it's just you see the right TikTok with the right sad song with the right thing that has a scene from a movie, and you're like, I get it now. I get it. Purple rain, purple rain. I get it. Um, or sometimes, and the funny thing is, this is how it happened in the case of Prince, is it was after he died, and I knew so many people who loved him so much.
Hmm.
And I was like, I'm gonna listen to this until I like it. I'm just gonna brute force it.
Hmm.
And I listened to the song. I started with his album Controversy, and I listened to that song Controversy. And I had this experience of the chorus of that song was the only part of that album I liked at all. And so I would just keep replaying Controversy, like getting ready for the chorus. And through repetition, you suddenly start to appreciate the way those things connect. It's like a little pinhole that like you start to open up a little bit. You sort of go see your way into a new musical experience. And that's how it is with me for so many musical, especially music. I don't know why, but it's just like there's one little thing that I like and I listen to it over and over and over and over again and gradually expand, and then I appreciate the rest of the song. And then I let it play and I hear the next song and I don't like it, but I have that experience enough times that it just slowly starts to open me up to it. And then I realize it's my favorite thing ever. So, um, again, I don't know what that says about me or music. Um, but I have had it be the case so many times that like, if I just force myself to listen to something for long enough, I like realize, and maybe what that is if I'm listening to it every day for a month, there's going to be some moment in that month that is the time and place that I need. And then you wait for that to come and boom, there you go. Now you get it. So, um, and yeah, that's how it is, with music in particular. Applies
I
less to
think
movies because you're not going to watch the same movie every day. But,
no, I relate to that very much, and I think that's beautiful. And
well,
what?
do you have any artists that you hated and then now you love?
Ooh, I struggle to think of any ones that I've hated. There are definitely artists that I just totally didn't get, but either like someone I really, uh, okay, I'll use this as an example. I can't think of a musical one, but David Lynch comes to mind.
Yes, sure.
When I was getting into film, I don't know, 15, 16, whatever, like I think my first in was like Christopher Nolan movies, which
Yeah, it's like the perfect blend of like dumb and smart for me. Like I love that. It's like that
yeah.
exact level of like, this is pretty smart, but it's not inaccessible. It's like really, really accessible.
Hmm,
But it's like has just a little bit of like brilliance to it as well. I think that's a
100%.
beautiful, beautiful thing.
I think so. I went into movies like kind of with that frame of like viewing them as very left brain kind of stuff. So then, like when I tried watching David Lynch movies, I just thought they sucked, and I thought like everyone was completely out of their minds. And funnily enough, I did a zine I don't know, almost 2 years ago now on the Downward Spiral, the Nine Inch Nails album. And I got to interview Russell Mills, who did the cover art for that album. And I was asking him about like movies he liked and everything, and he mentioned Eraserhead, and I was like, okay, if Russell Mills likes this, I have to watch it. And I watched it
That's
as
funny
like,
you say that. Yeah. It's like having someone you look up to say something is cool. It's like the quickest way for you to be like, I got to figure this out. I got to figure out how this is cool. And I guess that's kind of what happened in your Prince. So same thing. Now, did
yeah.
you then expand outside of Eraserhead to all of Lynch? Like, was that the pinhole moment for you that sort of made you understand how to take in David Lynch?
You know what's funny? So I think so that was 2024, somewhere around there. I think my biggest year for movies was like 2019-ish, and I think I'm just
Biggest year as in being connected to contemporary releases or just biggest year for you consuming the history of movies?
I'd say both because I was working
Okay.
at a movie theater that year, and then I have a list of all the movies I watched from 2019 on, and that year I watched like close to like 400. So I was really like
Holy
obsessed with
cow.
it. Yeah, I
That's
was like
a
there was
whole load of film.
the month of January I watched like 80 movies just because I don't know, I don't do
That
that
must have
anymore.
been very enriching, though. That must have been
It
like
was.
I bet you look back on that time quite fondly.
Oh, absolutely. I would go to the library and then I would max it out and I would have a stack of DVDs right here. Take one out, put it in, watch it. Take one out, put it in. Yeah, it was such a
And
good
you
time.
didn't feel like that made it difficult to appreciate each one.
It
Like
did.
it did, but there's another benefit to it, which is just sheer volume, right? I guess you get something from it still, even if you're
Yeah,
not appreciating each thing. So it's a
it's
different kind of important aspect of consumption.
exactly. It like back then it was much more of like I want to know everything, I want to see everything, I want to understand all of this.
Yeah.
And now I don't know what it is, if it's age, if it's maturity, if it's whatever, but when I watch a movie now, I have to like not I don't have to, but I end up focusing on it a lot more and I pick up things that I wouldn't notice and I think about it way later. So
Yes.
I couldn't do the same thing nowadays because it just wouldn't it would I don't know. It
Yeah,
wouldn't work at all.
that first night you go to bed after seeing a movie that you liked is like a
Mm,
really important night, I think. Or like the first night you go to bed after like seeing and consuming a new piece of art that resonated in any way. is like that's a really important moment for what your relationship with that thing's going to be going
Mm,
forward. And I could see if you consume too much too quickly, it's like that your brain's not going to be able to settle in on any one thing. Now that probably has benefits as well, because then you get this like broadening of understanding, which is great. Um, but yeah, I think it's good to consume one thing and then go to bed and then wake up, because
mm.
that's going to be where you like your relationship with that thing probably settles, would be my guess.
I think that's quite right. Well, we'll tell you what. I'll take us on to video games here. And one of the one of the quotes of yours that what's the phrasing I'm looking for? To me, feels very kind of pivotal to your worldview on games, and I'm sure you'll correct me if I'm mistaken. This is from a Patreon video a couple of years back, but you said, if your game doesn't have any boring parts, I'm going to get bored
Yeah.
by it. And I wonder if you could just elaborate on either where that
Yeah.
came from or why you feel that way. It was so
Yeah.
interesting to me.
Two things. Number one, I love how much you have to search for words while you're coming up with questions, because it tells me that you're actively thinking. You have a broad idea of what you want to ask, but I like that you're searching for words that work in the moment. So shout out to you for that. Just total side note. Secondly, anytime you like say a thing that is like a rule about, I would only like games if this, it's like there's going to be tons of exceptions. So putting that out there before I dive into this, right? Because there's plenty of games that have no boring moments that I love, I would imagine.
Hmm.
But for me, pacing's really important. I don't really like albums where all the songs are bangers. I
Hmm.
like a couple songs that I don't like at first. I guess in my case, I like albums where I only like 8 seconds to start and then sort of broaden from there. But that's kind of true of games. Like I need time where a little bit less is happening, so that my brain can kind of stay oriented. I don't like games when I can't get oriented because there's too much stimulation all the time. And I don't know if that's just like I get overstimulated kind of thing or what. Um, but it's like as they, Pokemon games, I remember used to play them. And as they've gone longer and longer, they've sort of done away with those moments where you have to just kind of sit and fight the same Pokemon over and over again to grind for 30, 40, 50 minutes. And they got less interesting to me as sort of that stuff went away, because the dynamic, the contrast there is really important to me. I like clear contrast. This is why I probably would like David Lynch a lot, is because he does a lot of like very clear, this is a shot, and then we're going to this, and then we have these things, and then we have those things. And it's like there's this kind of followable pacing to it, up, down, left, slow, fast, bright, dark. And I kind of really need that in whatever I'm consuming. Um,
Could I ask a
yeah,
follow
go
up
ahead.
on that? So I'm wondering. So I'm hearing kind of trends of maybe not vibing with something at first, but then making the active choice to dive into it. Is that
Yeah,
is that kind of is that why you like boring things, or maybe not loving something at first? Is that it forces you to like actively want to consume it and then take it in?
maybe. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely there frequently have these funny moments where I'm playing video games and there'll be a boring part and I'm like, this sucks. I'm turning this off. And then my brain goes, wait, you like this? And I go, I like this. I'm gonna keep doing it. It's like I have this weird there's a weird intention, I guess, that sometimes comes with it. I don't know that I've unpacked it like to a deep enough degree to totally, like elucidate the exact
Yeah, fair enough.
mechanics of why that is. But the way that I've in my head, the way that I phrase it is just I like pacing. I like things that have pacing. Um, I'd rather have something, and this is just true of my life. I'd rather have some really boring, frustrating experiences on a trip that also have these really transcendent, wonderful moments, rather than just like a nice trip that's good the whole time. I like when the car breaks down on the road trip. I like when things go wrong. I like when the hotel sucks way more than you thought. I like when you get lost, because then I also like when like you find a sunset or you go to a Disneyland and it's wonderful and it's what like I just the contrast is it helps me feel grounded. And if I
Hmm.
don't have enough like contrast and those kinds of like not extremes, because that makes me sound like a crazy person, but like like just, yeah, a little bit of extremes, I guess. It, if I don't have that, I get very derealized in my day to day life, and I kind of just like feel a little too floaty. Um, so,
You know,
you know, that's how it always made sense to me.
something I've been thinking about lately is, and I think honestly, a large part of this probably comes from, the influence of your videos on me, but like I'll watch like bloopers of like Parks and Recreation's a good example. And it sounds, I don't know how to describe it, but like when I see like the scenes fall apart, it makes me appreciate more like the final product because I'm realizing like how hard they had to work and how narrow the range is of like where you can do this amazing work. Is it important for you to have like these experiences that kind of suck or are boring or a pain in the ass or whatever that make you like just love things when they work out more?
I don't, that's what you would think it is. I don't know if it's even that, because like, I, I don't know if I just don't have the same, like my baseline for reactivity in life is like very low, all things considered. It's like I'm just very, very even most of the time. And I've never, as long as like people's safety is guaranteed, and like wellness and health and so on, um, it doesn't really matter to me whether an experience is positive or negative. It's kind of like the absolute value of the number is the same to some extent. Um, and the, what did you just say? I lost, I'm
Oh, I
spacing
was
out
just
today.
thinking like if the negative experiences sort of make you
Oh,
appreciate when
right,
it
right,
comes
right.
together.
Well, think about this, right? If you have a bad thing happen that's frustrating and annoying, car breaks down on the road trip, and you have to walk 3 miles to get to the town, and it's really bad. You probably are crying, and you got to spend a bunch of money and whatever. And then you finally get the car fixed, and you get to Disney World, and then you have a nice day at Disney World. When you get home from that trip, what's the story you're telling your friends? You're not telling them about we got to Disney World and had a nice time. You're telling them you're not going to believe the car broke down. And like that thing means more to me, like than anything. It's just like the having an interesting thing happen, positive or negative. Again, within these boundaries of health, safety, whatever. We don't want anyone to get hurt.
Hmm.
Um, but like stress, whatever stress, like it doesn't, I don't mind being stressed. But again, that might just be because my baseline is really low. And so I'm not saying that everyone should
I get what
be
you're saying.
happy when shit goes wrong, because you got to live the life that your heart sort of guides you to. But for me, that little thing of saying like, what's the story you're going to tell first? You're probably going to tell like the crazy story where things went wrong first. That's top of mind, and that's valuable to me. There's something valuable about that. But
Well, tell you what, I'll take us in another direction. I interviewed William Basinski once, who's an experimental ambient composer, and he told me that San Francisco has his favorite ambient city sound. And I know you just got back from GDC a little bit ago. Does that resonate as true at all? How's the ambient sound of San Francisco?
I like San Francisco a lot. I didn't notice; it just sounded like cars and buses to me. But the vibe of San Francisco, which is probably what he was getting at. Um, Well, no, he probably was actually like giving it a lot of listening. Um, I didn't engage with the sound of San Francisco. I engaged with uh, I don't know, the cool vibes. Like I was thinking a lot about architecture because I just put up that GTA architecture
Yeah.
video, and so I was like, oh, architecture. Um, but I don't
Well, tell you what,
know.
I'll redirect us if
Sure.
so how because like when I travel alone because I feel like I'd be a nightmare to travel with because like I was in after I graduated a couple years ago, whatever it was, I can't remember the date offhand, the year offhand. I went to Japan and all I like I mean I went to like places and ate food and played in arcades and stuff, but like most I didn't take pictures of myself or like landscapes or anything. I just took a bunch of like PDF scans of like concrete and things because I just
Yeah,
thought it looked really cool.
yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah.
guess I guess I'm just wondering like how are you as a traveler? Like what are the things you gravitate towards? You don't strike me as someone who goes to the tourist destinations and takes photos of yourself.
No, I love it. I love all things. I like. I do kind of think that again, within certain boundaries, like beloving something, loving, no, like appreciating something. It's
Hmm.
just a choice you make, and that can happen at the Golden Gate Bridge. It can happen at the gas station, whatever. Where I naturally gravitate is just walking around, like whatever's in my immediate vicinity. I'm very like geography or whatever oriented. So like whatever my hotel is or place I'm staying, those 6 blocks, that's what I'm gravitating towards. Is those alleyways, those little shops, those people, those corners. Um, and that's kind of how I prefer to, if I'm traveling for leisure, that's kind of how I prefer to interface. It's like, again, I like to feel oriented. Where am I? What's around me? Who's around me? Um, what does it look like? What does it feel like? Well, could I point to where my hotel is from wherever I am? Like I like having a sense of place. It's like really important to me. So um most of the time when I'm traveling these days, it's like for work, quote unquote.
Hmm.
And so I'm mostly kind of in like work brain, which is like walking around, oh hi, how you doing? Nice to meet you, that type of vibe. And so I'm not as engaged necessarily with my surroundings because it's like conventions and stuff, right? It's very different energy. And there's plenty to appreciate there, but it's it's hard for me to switch from like social brain to I'm Austin and I'm walking around and life is so beautiful brain. Because the social piece fills up my whole
Yeah.
bandwidth. Like there's not much more room there. But when I have my choice of it, I would sooner explore the 6 blocks around my hotel in depth than I would try to make a plan to go 3 miles this way to see this destination and 4 miles to see that. And if there are tourist places in that 6 blocks, amazing. And if there's not, amazing. It doesn't really make a difference to me. I just like stuff. I like all the stuff we make and the stuff we build. And I choose, well, it's not really a choice anymore. It just kind of happens. But I've learned to choose to just like stuff, like just to appreciate whatever it is there is to appreciate about stuff. Um, for the most part.
There's so many wonderful pieces there, and I guess I'll take us in this direction. I think that my
Like, what
theory.
would make me happy right now? If you could point your camera out your window and I could see where you are. That kind of orienting is meaningful to me. Not to, you're not going to dox yourself or whatever, but
I
that's what I'm thinking of is like in any moment is I'm like, I just like a place and knowing where the place is and what it is. It's that type of vibe. It's like really grounding for me and meaningful.
I will give you the whole street view when in a little bit. I
All right,
the
bring it back. I tried to derail you. Did it work?
I am underailable. I'm like a
I like that
boat.
tattoo. What's going on there?
Oh, I have three. I guess I have to stand up. So
There you go.
this is Marcus from a comic book called Deadly Class. I've read when I was 19.
It looks
This
really
is
well done, but I can't
yeah.
speak to yeah, that's really
I,
good
I
line
I
work.
I love them all. And then this one I got this year. This is Borrow from Blue Lock. It would take a long time to explain all the
Sure.
ins and outs of that. And then this is Atoshi Rin, also from Blue Lock, which is like
Is Blue Lock also a comic book manga anime something?
yeah, it's a manga. I first came across it as an anime, but it's honestly like it's one of those funny things. Like people will compliment me on whatever about like myself or my interviews or whatever it is, and I always appreciate it. But like to me, I really just feel like I owe it all to like Blue Lock and like a couple different books I've read or albums I've heard
Good
for
on
all
Blue
these
Lock right now.
kinds of things. But like honestly, I mean,
Oh yeah, I know about this. Well, I've never like seen it, but I'm familiar with these guys,
I,
these characters.
I love it.
I've seen some of this art.
Yeah, I like love it so much. I basically like all of the good things in my life have pretty much come from like treating Blue Lock as like my holy book. Uh,
It's important to have those pieces of art, like
mm,
those things that, especially if you don't like have a religion or whatever, which separate conversation. But I think like understanding what pieces of art you're using as orientation devices. We're talking a lot about orientating today,
I'm loving it.
but those are so important, so important because life's really confusing, and even if it's semi arbitrary or whatever, having something to orient by, even if it's fictional
Mm,
or not like real, is helpful to like not want to, you know, jump off the Golden Gate or whatever, however that
100%.
ends up happening.
100%. I think at the end of the day, and it can be different things for different people. We all need to have, in my opinion, something that we can when shit sucks that we can look at and be like, I have that, or you can return to
Yes.
or
Yeah.
something. And for me, there have been different ones at different times, and even now, I'm sure I have a few different ones. But no, I think that's quite right. Well, I do really want to touch on this because I think this is, I guess, my theory on you and your videos. I'm not you, so if I'm mistaken, I'm sure you'll let me know. But it seems like, as compared to some of the Annie Austin copycats, of which there, every time I go on YouTube, I see like 40 videos that are just shitty versions of your videos. But it seems to me that one of the things that really makes you stand out, of which there are many, but one of them that I latched on to, it seems like you make these videos, examining the line between reality and video games, but it's not. To me, it seems like the thing you're exploring is just, how do I describe this? It seems like you're doing that as a way of, admiring, or I don't want to say putting on a pedestal, but really closely examining, or whatever term. Can't think of the proper word. But it seems like you're doing it as a way of, honoring the work the developers have done in part, but also, when you look at things like, rivers and how the dam systems work, and are the airports realistic? It seems like that's also your way of really kind of uplifting, like, the working class and all these people who make our lives go. Is there any truth to that?
Yeah. I'd say 100%. There is there would be a little bit of nuance in this conversation of like, when we talk about how cool the rivers are in a video. I think the best example of this is I did a video on the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, and we did this video appreciating the rivers in that game and talking about all of these the things these developers did, and they made them go this way, and here's our theory of how it works hydrologically, and so on and so forth. And so, in a sense, that's appreciating the work the developers did. But the reality of that game and most games, and this is not a bad thing, is that they made the rivers like that because they were like cutting corners and just like trying to get it done. And it wasn't like some creative whatever thing. It was just like let's put a river, and like the technology, we could do it, make it flow, but it's going to be too much work. Let's just like get this done. And so it's appreciating not the effort of the developers because it was effortful. It's just appreciating whatever they did, good, bad, high effort, low effort, detailed, not detailed, half asleep or awake, motivated purely by money or motivated by creativity. It doesn't make a difference to me. It's just what happened. What's the piece of art that it is, and what can I bring to that to create this little exploration. So that's the only nuance I would add there. Is I don't like valuing people's work based on how creatively invested they were when they did it. I don't really think that's that important at all. And I think if you talk to most artists, like one of the things that I think it was Kurt Vonnegut said is like, writing is horrible. He doesn't like it. It's not enjoyable. He doesn't feel like good when he does it. It's not creatively satisfying at all. Mozart, Beethoven, whatever, these people wrote all of their best stuff because some king paid them to do it. It was purely motivated by money and the class and so on and so forth. So I try to value all of that, regardless of what drove us to the final product, because I think it's amazing. I think it's just incredible. I think just stuff is incredible. So that's the piece on the development aspect, right? And then the thing you're saying about like working class, etc. I had a great conversation at GDC with a guy named Frank Cifaldi, who's been in the industry for a long, long time. Wonderful guy. I was on a podcast with him called Insert Credit. I did a podcast with him and his little cohort. I don't know if it's his cohort, but whatever. And he runs what's it called? Video Game Archival History Museum Library something. So he literally runs a research, I think the only research library about video games. So it has like old magazine articles and development documents and all these things. So like if you need to research something about video game information that's not available online or that's lost to time, so to speak, this is a place you can go, and you can go through these archives, whatever. So I had a conversation with him and the librarian of that research archive. And I don't remember, what was his name? I don't remember his name, but the librarian brought up this. but the librarian brought up this incredible concept that's resonated with me since then, which is um, oversimplifying, but he brought up this idea of society is kind of, in some sense, made up of innovators and maintainers. And again, we're smoothing out over so many problematic things, whatever. But just follow me here is like, broadly speaking, in a perfect world, we would say that our modern sort of society and capitalism is really good at rewarding innovators, broadly speaking, and really bad at rewarding maintainers. So your innovators are the people who are coming up with new things, changing things, breaking old things, and coming in with new things and new technologies and new drugs and new cars and whatever. And then your maintainers are the people who, once that stuff's established, they fill the potholes and they change your oil and make sure that your cars are still running, and they make sure that the museum's available because, you know, the innovators are off building some new thing, but we need to keep these archives somewhere. And that maintainer class, which is the majority of people, those people, that's the only reason innovators get to exist, is because those people are going to go in. And so you can say working class, but I would sort of even broaden it because it's less, I mean, it depends on what you mean by working class exactly, but I like this idea of maintainers, which is these are the people who are day to day doing all of this work that allows a bunch of these dweebs, innovators, to get credit for a bunch of stuff. And, you know, whatever, we're glossing over a whole bunch there. And so I do, ever since he said that, I would have phrased it more like how you phrased it prior to that conversation. But now in my head, I'm really thinking of it in terms of like the maintenance people of society. I think it's really important to like appreciate that a lot, because nothing happens without, like, you don't get, like, we love shitting on, like, you know, oil, and we should shit on oil companies. I'm not saying that we shouldn't, but like, we love shitting on like oil rig workers and Amazon truck drivers and blah 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 blah. But it's like your whole life only happens because these people are doing these jobs. The people who go in your sewer, the people who work at your DMV, like, these, you only ever interact with them when you're mad. So I get it, but like, everything, if you look around you right now, you could find 100 things that wouldn't exist without all these people that you in other contexts might even like shit on in some way. And so it was accidental because I didn't go into it thinking I'm going to make videos so people appreciate plumbing. I was just like, where does the river go? And then I followed it and I was like, oh, hydrology, hydrologists, you know, surveyors. Okay, where does the river go? Where's the, you know, where's power lines go? Oh, power. And it just spins off from there. So there's an earnest curiosity that drives all of it first. And then it ends up spinning off into wherever my brain thinks, which is often just a great appreciation. And now I walk around in my real life and I'm just constantly bombarded with the beautiful contributions of these maintainer people, who, you know, that's the only reason I get to make YouTube videos, is because other people, you know, make my coffee or keep my lights on or whatever. And so just having a great appreciation for the fact that it's a two-way street and most of the traffic is coming from one side, you know. And I think we kind of value it, assuming it's flipped, that most of the traffic comes from these like 10-20%. It's not even 10% of people, probably, whatever it is, 1%, whatever it is. We kind of value it as though most of it comes from those sides. And it's important that you need people who are pushing things. That's like super important and wonderful. But our value system's like super flipped on that. So that's the tip I've been on lately ever since that conversation with those folks. So shout out to them, or like big shout out to them for giving me that resonant little piece of something. But going back to the thing you said about how there's a bunch of NELs copycats and they all suck. First of all, thank you. Appreciate that. But I actually see the main difference, and I've talked to a lot of people about this, is I think a lot, and this is fine, but I think a lot of people see the titles of my videos and the concepts and see it as funny, because it is funny to some extent. Are Grand Theft Auto's airports realistic? That's stupid. That's funny. But when you watch that video, I'm being very earnest. That's not a joke to me. There are jokes in it, but I'm not joking. I'm not doing it because it's funny. I'm doing it because I'm curious. And I think a lot of the other channels that are doing it because it's kind of funny, and like it's sort of this weird surface level. We're not quite getting in as deep, and it doesn't feel as energized with real curiosity, at least to me.
100%.
Which
I 100% agree.
You know,
yeah.
There's a couple, like there are definitely channels but the thing is, the channels that are driven by their natural curiosity, even if there's some overlap, they don't end up looking like copycats, obviously, right? Because they have their own sort of whatever driven kind of thing. So those are all my thoughts on everything you just said.
No, I love it. I think you're doing wonderfully. Well, tell you what, I do want to get you out of here in good time. I'm gonna try to fit
What is
it.
good time? What did we agree on? I don't even
I was
remember.
I was told 45 minutes, so I want to be respectful and just not.
You can have another 50. We can go an hour. That's fine.
Let's
Yeah,
do
you
it.
got it.
Well, tell you what. I asked this to one other person, so this is technically a recycled question, but that's
You know
okay.
what I should do? Actually, side note, I should always tell, because Ashlyn, my partner, she's the one who does. She makes sure that all my stuff gets scheduled and I don't forget about anything.
Hmm.
Um, and so I should always tell her to tell people half an hour, and then always tell the people that, oh, we can go an hour, and then so then I look really cool and like chill. That's what I'm gonna do from now on. You can go an
Hell
hour. No,
yeah.
an hour. You can have an hour. Let's do it. But for you, it's real. This one's real. I am
No,
giving it to you because I'm enjoying myself.
I appreciate it, and I believe and I understand you were being sincere. What historical era do you think deserves a Red Dead 2?
Oh man, holy cow! All of them. Holy. I mean, I was thinking. I actually, and now I've transitioned from a Red Dead 2 to a Kingdom Come Deliverance, because that is even more. I was at GDC. I had a conversation with, again, name escaping me. I could look it up. Somebody who worked on the like NPC AI programming for Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 and 2, and we got into this conversation about all sorts of obviously NPC routines and how they decide who knows what and what happens and whatever. Um, but we also talked about this idea of like, I don't know how many people realize that like Kingdom Come Deliverance, at least one in particular, and I put up a video about this a couple months ago. Um, in the last 4 minutes of that video, I get into this, which is one of the coolest things I've ever seen in a video game ever. That game is set in a scale area of the modern Czech Republic, but the area that it's picked, it's not like Prague, you know, it's not these like big city like it's like it would be like if you just took a 10 square mile piece of Iowa and made a game there that was full scale and treated it with like, and that's a little being a little rude to the history of the Czech Republic, but like you get what I'm saying. It's like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I'm following you.
nowadays the region that it's set in is this incredibly nondescript like slice of countryside
Hmm.
and the towns from the game are still there and they're still in the same places, but they're like it's like 800 people, 1,000 people maybe. um and I just think that's so cool. Goes back to my 6 blocks from my hotel thing. Is like take just pick a place and you'll find it's a fractal of beauty in every place you look, and the closer you look the more you'll find. And I want people to do a Kingdom Come Deliverance type thing, but Red Dead obviously is different in the sense that it's committed to history, but it's Red Dead, you could say, is uh what's his name? Christopher Nolan. You could say Red
Hmm.
Dead is like this big, beautiful commitment to history, but it's like quite accessible with like this
Yeah,
story where you're shooting a bunch of guns.
yeah.
Um, though that is downplaying how good that story is because it is a really wonderful
No, I'm
story.
following you.
Um, so what historical eras deserve it? I mean, the obvious answer based on everything I've said is all of them. Anytime, just throw a dart at a board and do it, and it'll be great. Um, Selfishly, what would I want to see? I have a dream. This is probably never going to happen, and I shouldn't even say it out loud. But I have a dream. It's not a conversation I have at GDC with someone. I was like, I want to do Skyrim. So the same structure, side quests, exploration, open world, talk to characters, go to an inn. But I want it to just be set in like 2010 in a place. Like I don't want the violence. I want to like basically swap the aesthetics, have exactly the same structure and gameplay flow, but instead of fighting dragons, it's getting groceries, and instead of going on a side quest to fetch a ring from a cave, it's like get to work and make the smoothie for the guy who orders the smoothie. But not in like a silly way. Like I earnestly want it to have
Hmm.
exactly that same feeling of this sprawling adventure, but the aesthetics are just very plain. So I would want Red Dead set in, yeah, like 2009, like 2009, like city, suburb, rural, Midwest America,
Hmm.
which is not really historical yet. I want a Red Dead of 9/11. No, I want um,
No,
I
I'm following
want,
you.
but it really could just be anything. I'm not somebody who's like, when are they going to do Assassin's Creed in Japan? It's like, I don't, it's just I'll make a cool game and I'll like it, like, regardless. Cause you never would have guessed if you asked me this, 5 years ago, I never would have said, you know what I want? I want a Red Dead in 15th century Bohemia in a small town. Like, I'm never going to say that. So you just
Yeah.
got to let it sprout up where it sprouts up, basically. The more we can get away from doing, and I get why, and we never will get away from it, but the more we can get away from doing a $500 million game in these big iconic cities, and the more we can get, like, let's do a Cleveland GTA. You know what I mean? Not going to happen, but everywhere has culture if you look close enough. I don't think that's true now that I'm thinking about some of the places, but it kind of is true, right? It's like everywhere has culture, has people. So
I think even a lack of culture is a culture in of itself.
that exactly is
Yeah.
correct. But the whole fractal thing is, like, I think very, very true for me. Is if you want to appreciate things, just look at them, and if you don't appreciate it, you look a little closer. Keep listening to Controversy by Prince until you figure it out, and then you'll figure it out. Even Pearl Jam, even that guy's horrid voice, you'll come around to it eventually. I'm just kidding. He's got a beautiful voice, but I get that now. I didn't get it before.
Taking this on a completely unrelated thing. I've never heard anyone talk about this, and I've never also, like, said it out loud, so I have no idea if this will go anywhere. This isn't really this is kind of just my opinion, I guess.
Sure.
I really don't think games should be indoors, because, like, every time I go indoors in a game, I'm, like, really annoyed. Like, like in, like, Arkham, for example. I love those games. I never once in my, like, in that, like, it sucks because then you have
Right.
to, like, move really slow, and you lose track of where you were, whereas, like, 10 seconds ago you could just grapple anywhere you want. And I don't know. There's
Maybe
no
I can get
question.
where you on this is games. You should either be an outdoor game or an indoor game. You shouldn't be both.
100%.
Because if you think
100%.
Resident Evil, that's an indoor game, and it
Yeah.
works as an indoor game.
Yeah.
But we shouldn't have both. Don't make the city that everyone wants GTA with enterable buildings. I say no. I want it to feel like an action figure playset a little bit. And like some of them, you can go in and it's fine. But yeah, that's a good question. Have I ever played a game where you go from outdoor to indoor? It's equally as fun in both places. Maybe Call of Duty, like old first-person shooters, do a little bit of that, and it's probably about the same.
Well, but here's what I would say.
Broadly, I'm not going to totally disagree with you. I think I'm 60% on board with you here.
Here's what I would say the difference is. Like, for me, and it didn't occur to me until
It's
research.
Arkham the one you're thinking of? Like, that's the one that comes to mind?
Well, video games to me, the thing I most like about video games is movement, and, like, games with really compelling. So, like, Arkham Knight's probably my favorite one, and then, like, Mirror's Edge, Catalyst, like, just those really fluid kind of things. So, like, when a game is built around movement, like most of my favorite ones are, and then you're put indoors, it's not like you're playing a shitty version of a game.
Right. It's just it takes away all the fun stuff and makes you not get to do it, which maybe would work for me because it's like, okay, boring. Now it's a better game in that way, but it doesn't seem like it's working for you.
No.
Do you like Red Dead? Because Red Dead's got horrible movement in that regard.
Well, I do like Red Dead. They're different games. Okay, well,
yes.
Like, for example, I went back and I was trying to replay Red Dead 2. I beat the whole game. I love that game. I went back and tried to replay it, and I just couldn't. I just didn't stick with it. But, like, Arkham Knight, for example, I've probably played that game like 7 or 8 times. Just because, like a huge chunk of the time I can access, like, the grapple hook and stuff, which like, every time I do it, I feel like I'm getting away with murder. It's so much fun, Like,
right. It's fun. Like, games that remember that they're toys are a fun thing. Like, games that are playful and fun to just fiddle with. Obviously, it's like Mario 64. It's like that's like one of the first games, 3D games, maybe the first 3D game that had that feeling of just running around and moving. It's fun. It's just fun to jump and dive and kick and backflip and whatever. But yeah, to your point, there are different kinds of games for different reasons. I always like the games you're talking about, these like fun games that are fun to play. I'm always like, that's a game. That's a game. It's a game. It's a toy. It's a thing. It's fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there's games that are like Red Dead Last of Us, which are a little bit of a different thing.
Mm.
Um,
And I love
and
both
both
of
are
those
good.
games
Both are
too.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, so like I guess maybe I don't know, maybe I don't have an opinion on this after all, but
Turns out
uh
you love everything also, which is the correct opinion to have. All
you know
things are good.
you know what's funny? I was so for like forever I've been trying to interview people in like video games so that I would have an excuse to play video games because like
Oh, that's fun.
yeah, well, because like I'm so, and it sounds like silly because I have such a small channel, but like I'm
I
very
did see you interviewed friend of my show, Anna. You talked to Goombana, I think, right? Is that
Oh,
correct?
I did, yeah, I didn't know there was any connection, but
We
yeah,
yes, we met at I think VidCon last year. So every once in a while we text each other.
yeah, no,
So
that
we're
was
familiar. And when I saw that, I was like, all right, fine, we can do an interview. It's fine.
yeah, no, that was a fun one for sure. I think like I don't know, I get so. I'm a little bit like Henry Rollins in the sense that like I just want to work, I just want to do shit, like because I think I have a very at baseline a very low like self opinion. I get really depressed, so like
Yeah.
when I'm like making stuff, I feel really good because I like the
Yes.
things I make a lot, you know. So when I'm focused
Mhm.
on that, I'm like, cool, things are good.
Things are good. Yes,
Um,
exactly.
so like yeah, that's why I was so grateful to do this. I mean, well, among many other reasons, but like it gave me an opportunity to go like play games and not feel like shitty about myself.
What'd you
Uh,
play? Did you play Arkham and then you said this sucks going inside? A piece of shit games.
You know, it's funny.
Horrible.
I replayed Arkham for like some of the earlier interviews, but well, it was an interesting thing. I thought a lot about how to approach it, and the thing I came to was like I didn't go the route of trying to play the games like you talked about because I just realized I think I'll probably discuss this in more. I'm thinking this is very esoteric. I'm getting off on a tangent.
No, go for it.
I have like so many thoughts about this. I'm probably gonna have like a big epilogue to the interview and like talking about all the things I learned from like the research process and everything, just because like there's so much stuff I won't be able to cover just in this time period. Um, yeah, I decided not to like play Banjo Kazooie or like Super Mario 64 or whatever, just because I realized like I don't have the depth of love for those games that you do or like and I don't think I would be able to develop questions on them that would be
Yeah.
at your same level of love for them.
Shit.
So I tried to just like focus more on like my own shit. So I replayed like Mirror's Edge, and I started uh I didn't beat it, but I played like 10 hours of GTA 4, which I played a tiny bit, but I never played the story before.
What was your thought on that? Because I played about 10 hours of it last year and
Hmm.
then put a pin in it, and I'm gonna play through it all the way to do a video on it later this year.
I
What was your opinion?
I love it.
Okay, good.
I
The vibes are off the charts.
it's so video gamey. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, and it's I like different kinds of games. Like I love Red Dead 2. That's I think a phenomenal game. But like that that feels much more like real life in a way that's like
Mhm. Yeah.
you have to like think about it and
Yeah,
it
there's not
almost
enough like silly shit that you got to do, and like there's not enough like um I mean, the only way I ever phrase it is like video game shit. Like I like
mm,
when video games kind of feel like video games a little bit, you
yeah.
know?
Well, and
Um,
like honestly, that was like to me, that was like the breakthrough I had where I was like, all right, I feel like I can understand how Austin thinks now. Because when I was playing that game and I was just getting stoked that I could like drive super fast into the checkpoint and then it would immediately stop my car. I'm like, that
yeah.
fucks. That's
Yes.
awesome. I love
Yeah.
that. And then I was like, all right, I could do this interview now. But no, so yeah, I really love that game. And it's so just like I think life is so stressful and there are so many things that like go on and I I just love that you go into the game in the mission and everyone sucks and like
Yes.
everyone
Hmm.
immediately is just like, hey, fuckhead, I want money, go, and then you
Hmm.
go like kill that person and then the problem's solved. It's like
Yep.
that's like amazing. Not well, not but you know what I mean. But
Yep. I'm 100% on board. Yes, I agree totally. I mean, the funny thing about that is, um, GTA 4 really was the GTA stepping away from all that stuff for the first time. Because if you play 3 Vice City and San Andreas,
hmm,
those games are even more like the action figures kind of play place, and they're
hmm.
really fun and really beautiful, and um highly recommend those games. a GTA 4 like kind of threads that needle really well, which is like they have a world that is really, really concrete. Like it feels real touchable, but it doesn't go all the way to the Red Dead side of it. Every moment is like this thoughtful, flowing visual perfection that like
Hmm.
Red Dead 2 goes all the way in that direction.
Hmm.
And I appreciate that about GTA 4. I like that it's got silly shit in it. Now GTA 5 actually still retains a good amount of that. It gets a little further away from it. Like um they smoothed over a few too many things, I think, in 5. Still very, very great. But it's much more in line with Red Dead
Hmm.
in the sense that it's very filmish,
Hmm.
um, as opposed to silly. Whereas GTA 4 had a lot of goofball stuff in it, a lot of real gamey stuff that like on paper would be like take you out of the experience. But to me, it kind of actually gets me more into it. Like you said, the speeding down the highway and like I think it's good that it's not, but I also think it's bad. Yeah, I would do both because I'm thinking like it's good that you don't get pulled over for crazy shit, but like it also would be really fun to play a game where it is all the way in the other direction and you do like have to beat your head against it and like be really careful. So this goes back to the thing of I just like everything, I guess. I
Yeah.
like GTA 4.
I want to touch. This is I want to try to touch on this one before we get out of here. And one of the you had some, I don't have the quote in front of me, but you're talking about how playing Resident Evil 4 is equally immersive, just on the screen as it is in
Yeah, yeah,
VR.
yeah, yeah.
And my question is this: what what maybe this is too heady, but what do you think are like the environmental or psychological prerequisites to being immersed in something?
Right. Big. And that is another thing that somebody from Warhorse Studios, the Kingdom Come people, talked about. He actually did a talk that they talked a lot about this, and they have their own theories about it. But I agree that it's simultaneously like made of elements that are in the game, and it's also a choice that you make, kind of. Because I think anything you could say and put on a list of like this causes immersion, you could easily find games that have the opposite of that and are also immersive.
Hmm.
Um, Part of me does think it's just a choice that we make. You just choose to be immersed because, in a weird way, it's like Red Dead 2 is just as immersive as Mega Man 2. And if you're in it, like you're either in it or you're not. There are things that because I guess it's the same thing as like suspension of disbelief, right? It's like some people can watch a show like Lost and feel like it never broke that agreement, that pact of realism. And some people watch it and go, but he did that and that didn't make sense. And if that's like this, then how come nobody's doing this? So it's just kind of a choice that you either make subconsciously or not. For most people, and this is probably a good thing, it's like it's subconscious, right? It's like if the aesthetics of something are like super resonating, or the characters are super resonating, or the writing's super resonating, your brain is just going to be like, we're immersed. That's it. Um, and if you don't like the aesthetics or the vibes or whatever something's calling for, you're going to be way quicker to be like, I'm not going to be immersed in this. Um, and I think you can train that. Now, the thing that the Warhorse people talked about, which I thought was fun, was their theory is we want to put as many useless things in this game that remind you that you're in a physical space. So they programmed a lot of stuff into that game that like when you walk up to these walls, the main character Henry will take his hands out and put them on the wall and sort of reach over it. Just these little things to remind you that you're in a physical space. Things that don't have any gameplay purpose. Petting dogs is like the classic video game example of like one of these useless things that will sort of ground you. So I'm sure there's some heady technical way you can get there, but in my experience, you can always find whatever list of things you come up with, you could find 100 games that do the opposite of all those things that plenty of people get immersed in. And I really do think it's probably just a matter of this is resonating with me. So my body is going to raise my threshold for suspension of disbelief so that I don't, it doesn't get screwed up. And if you're not resonating with something, then you're just going to have a lower tolerance, would be my guess.
Well, tell you what, I mean, I could chat with you for 7 hours. I'll cut you out of here on this one. I think to me the atomic unit of Austin is your sense of sincerity, and I think that's true of any artist worth anything. And I guess I'm just curious, and I don't know if you have an answer to this, if it's too, I don't know, but like, where did your sense of sincerity come from? Have you always had that? Did you learn it? How did that come about?
I don't know that I feel like I'm that sincere of a person. Like in some sense, I don't know. It depends what you mean exactly. Um,
I
I'm
think,
earnest most of the time, but I do a lot of stuff just like everybody does that's like not sincere. Like there are a lot of videos I've made that were made out of obligation that I didn't want to be making, that I didn't have a good time making. Um, that then they come out and they like are they come across as very sincere. And I guess they are sincere. But I guess what do we mean by sincere, earnest?
um,
Like, do I ever do things that I don't want to be doing? Constantly. Do I ever say things that I know are true, but that I don't feel are true? Yeah, for sure. And those aren't very sincere things to do, but that is like human to do that. So in that way, it is quite sincere. Um, so
I,
you might have to expand on what exactly you mean for me
yeah,
to totally answer that. But I don't know that I feel any more sincere than any like other person. If anything, like slightly less. I think I do a lot of performative things.
I mean, that's interesting to hear. And, of course, it's tough because, we only ever live life as ourselves. So
Yeah.
it's hard to say,
No, like, are you
relative.
a sincere person?
Um, I try to be. I would say there are two different things. Like there is the work and there is like my life. In the work, I am very well. I mean, it's tough, right? Because like
That's what I'm
I
saying. It's tough. It's
well because like
complicated.
I everything I'm talking about with you, I feel and is true to me, and at the same time, like I'm focusing on subjects that I imagine are relatable to you, or that I'm not
Right.
talking about like just anything that comes into my head.
Even
Um, but so like
is that insincere then to some extent? You're talking with me, your desire to talk to me is sincere, but the
hmm.
topics you choose are the things you want to talk about. They're things one, some of them are
Well,
kind of,
they are all
or you
things.
choose to make them that, I
It's
guess.
it's the Venn diagram. I think you've talked about it before, right? Like I find the things that I want to talk about that I think you will want to talk about, and then I
Sure.
meet it there. I guess like the best thing I could say is that to me, I think sincerity is the overall direction or the intention or where you're trying to move things. And like with you, for example, I'm not you, this is just my opinion, my impression. You do not strike me as someone who is um wakes up every morning trying to think about how can I make billions of dollars, or how can I min max this. Well, I shouldn't phrase it like that, because I know you definitely think about like
Yeah,
audience retention and things like that. And
definitely.
I
Which are
well,
kind of but are they insincere if I sincerely want a lot of money, isn't it very sincere, I don't
I
know. Yeah, I don't, I kind of think of sincerity as being a, you know what? I don't actually think this, but let me just say it and see how it feels, right?
yeah.
Is I kind of think that our sense of sincerity and authenticity and earnestness is like that. The Whether we feel that way about another person, I think, is mostly about kind of like immersion. It's mostly just like whether we're vibing with them, and if we're vibing with them, we're going to have a much higher likelihood of assuming they're being sincere.
Hmm.
I think that's just a human thing to do, and that's like fine, because when you get down to it, it's like this is a conversation I've had in the context of like music a lot with people. Is like, what is an earnest, who's a sellout, who's being authentic, who's actually like being their real self versus not. And
Hmm.
um I think once you start to unpack all that stuff, you do realize that like the people that one person says are like these authentic people are just the people that they fuck with. Like that's really all it comes down to. And then the other people are like, the people who will like a total opposite thing. Like the common divide is like you're sort of, and this is the argument I've had with people, is sort of like these indie alt artists, sort of like these underground people versus like super pop artists. And the fans of the pop artist thinks the pop artist is super sincere and they have 1,000 reasons why. And the fans of the indie people and the pop people think the indie people are like super performative and lame, and the indie people think it's just so it's just like I think it's just all we're all just doing stuff and that's it. I don't know that we could unpack it any more than that. Now, if you want to take 12 months and try to figure out some sort of thesis on that and come back to me, we'll talk again and see if we can figure it out. But I would bet that whatever definition you come up with for sincerity, I have it in equal parts as every single other person. You know what I mean? Yeah, that'd be my guess. We could go back and forth on that if you wanted to. Give me examples of people that you think aren't sincere, and then maybe I can poke holes in that. Give me example of behaviors that you would think is insincere behaviors. And I would bet I've done some measure of them, right? Just like you have. You wouldn't want a society where everyone's being sincere all the time. It would just be a mess. It would not be a good thing. Everyone should get like an hour every day that you get to be sincere. And then we take turns, basically. It's like we take turns providing space for other people to be their true selves. And then we get a turn to be our true selves. And the rest of the time, we're just doing our part to make sure that everyone gets a fair shake at that. But it's a big question, big existential, philosophical, whatever.
Well, tell you, I'll put it to you. Do you want me to bounce ideas on you on that, or we can save it for next time? What do you think?
Give me one, and then we'll be done.
Okay, I think
a person, a type of behavior. You can go easy. Say Elon Musk. He's insincere, and then we could unpack that.
Well,
I don't know if I actually could unpack that, nor would want to, but
I think doing interviews, as I consider it my job, even though I don't make any money off of it.
Yet, give it time.
Yet, I do not make any money off of it yet.
You're better at it than most people who get money for it, so there's no reason it couldn't happen sometime.
To be honest, I do agree with that, and it is a
that is an objectively correct statement.
Thank you. I genuinely appreciate that a lot. I find myself. It's hard for me to talk to people, to be honest, like in my day-to-day life, because the second someone starts talking to me, I so much information is coming into my brain that it's like it can genuinely be like painful and frightening. So I think a common thing, something that I would describe as insincere, is when there's like a large disconnect between what someone is putting on, like the vibes they're trying to give off, and what their actual intentions or their character are. And I've done that before. Like when I think back to some of my early, interviews on the channel, for example, like I think honestly, like I think I started doing, well, depends on where you want to start the line. Like I think some of my interviews, I reached out to people, or like I just did it because I wanted, like, I wanted to get views, or I wanted whatever, and I had to really let go of that because like it made me so depressed, and so I'm not getting to your question at all. Okay. Here's an example. I will not name the person. I met someone at a show in Seattle, and like we were talking, and I was asking questions about like their life and like the movies they've seen and stuff like that, and they didn't really ask me like anything, which I guess is like fine. And then they were telling me like, hey, if you want to come out, I have this show going on, and I was like, oh, cool. Do you have like an Instagram I can follow? And they were like, yeah, give me this. And like I followed them, and they didn't follow me back, which like just felt, I don't know, it just felt kind of weird, because like I don't ever go up to people and say like, hey, here's my YouTube channel, come watch it. When someone's treating you like you're just a side character in their life, that feels very icky, So that to me is insincerity, I suppose.
I don't know that I'm totally connecting it to insincerity, but I agree that it's rude. It's not like the best way to do a thing. But like this might not be right, but kind of what I'm hearing you say is it's insincere when people are mean. And it's like, well, no, right? It's not.
It's
Like then they might, it's not even trying to be mean. They might even just been trying to be nice. But I guess you're saying is like whatever somebody's motive is, they should be forthright about that
yeah,
all the
100%.
time.
100%.
I
But
think that's a terrible idea. That's not good.
why?
Nobody would get anything done. That is not. That's a bad idea.
No, no,
I
no.
feel like.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Because like if if you are like super direct with someone and you suck, then you'll have to like change or be ostracized, you
I
know?
agree that on a social level
Hmm.
for like making friends, yeah. But there's a lot more about life than just like being friendly. You know what I mean? Like there are so many circumstances when being forthright and direct with someone is not only going to cause a worse outcome, it's also going to create more dishonesty. I can't,
I
the
understand what
examples
you're
I have in
saying.
my mind, unfortunately, are like things that I can't
Yeah, no,
talk
no,
about. Some,
100%.
but like there are like really complicated situations where it's like just the fact of being forthright poisons the well in a way that's like really bad. And I also don't even think you want that in a social scenario.
Well,
Like I
but
agree you shouldn't have like ulterior intentional motives, but I don't agree that you have to be for, because like what if that person just didn't want to talk to you? What if they just were being nice?
well,
And
and that
they shouldn't just go, I don't want to talk to you right now. Go away. This be nice. You can just be nice. And that's manipulative kind of, but it's like it's necessary for us to take turns giving people their 10% of time that they get to be earnest to some extent. Like you just I can't imagine a society where like every time, and maybe I'm just a asshole, but every time somebody came up to me and like I didn't want to talk to them, if I was like, I actually really don't want to talk to you right now. And I want you to watch my YouTube videos because I want views. So if you want to do that, you can. But I have no interest in talking to you or being friends with you. Now you can argue that that's just a me problem, that I should apply this thing, and I do. This is, I would never actually do or even really
I'm following you.
feel the way
Yeah.
that I'm sort of playing
No, no,
the
I'm
fool
following
here.
you.
But like, yeah, maybe you should just choose to like everybody all the time. Okay, good luck with
But
that. Like, it's just, and maybe I'm misunderstanding what you're saying, but you get what I'm getting at here?
100%. I understand. I understand exactly what you're saying. The thing I would say is that there are different ways to be open. Like if I don't that example it was just the first one that came to mind. Like I'm not saying they're a horrible person or anything.
100%. Yeah.
Um, but like in something like that, it's like you didn't have to spend all this time talking to me. It's like, you could have like if I had gotten the impression like they weren't enjoying the conversation, I would have just like been, oh, cool, nice to meet you, and I would have gone on to it felt weird to me that like I felt like there was an exchange of like emotion, they were being like friendly, and then it just
Then you realize it was one way, and
yeah, and
it sucks.
that's
That feels weird.
yeah.
So would you have felt better about it if they said, if they were basically, to my point, doing some of that job also? So basically, you're asking them a lot of questions and giving them a chance to show their shit. And then maybe if they did that for you and
Hmm.
they said, what do you do? It's just, oh, what's your YouTube channel? I'll do that.
Hmm.
Then does that make it feel good if it's like mutually manipulative in that sense? Like you actually cared to talk to the person, but let's
I
pretend you
understand what you're
didn't.
saying. Yeah.
Do you think that that fixes your problem of like, we both have an ulterior motive kind of, but at least we're being deferential and giving the other person a chance to shine as the star they are, in conversation. Does that fix it, or is that still a problem?
I that is a very valid question. I think my framework of I maybe this is like arrogant of me to say. I genuinely feel like this is true. I when I'm like talking to someone, I can just I can kind of just like see in their eyes if they have like ill intentions or if they're not saying what they're thinking, and it that really freaks me out, and I get like really anxious. Just
I wish I would have lied to you more in this interview so I could be like, actually, surprise. No, this is fabricated. Um, yes,
well,
I think I agree with you. It's dangerous with things like that where you're intuiting something about another person, right?
mm,
Because like there's so much room for projection
100%,
and
100%.
insecurity and anxiety and stuff like that. But I'll agree with you broadly. Yes.
I think, and not to ramble on too long. I think, and that is definitely a thing with me that like when I am unsure about someone, that like I will maybe not even make it, I might make assumptions, or I'll be very uneasy, and that is definitely a thing that I am doing. So I don't know, maybe my like demand for sincerity is is whatever, but I guess
The only thing I would give you is and I'm not saying this is the case, but I would say, as somebody who, at least I feel like I have struggled with some of the things you're talking about having struggled with as a human being,
hmm,
be open to the possibility that your intuition about people's sincerity is miscalibrated. It's possible. Not saying that's definitely the case, and it's probably saved you a lot and protected you in a lot of ways. There's
hmm,
definitely a possibility that like your sense of how earnest somebody else is being is coming from you, not from them. And you
hmm,
got to be careful with that, because if you think
hmm,
it's only coming from you, people are going to manipulate you and bully you, and it's going to be bad. So you
hmm,
have to find a way to thread that needle. But
100%.
I think that for me, that's a lot of what it was. And when I took that out and decided, I'm just going to assume everyone's being like themselves. I'm going to assume the best intentions from everybody, and that they really think that what they're doing is best for them. Um, People just seemed a lot friendlier.